My name is Kaylin Bragas, and I chose to speak about the clean water crisis for my extra credit project. I want you to imagine what it would be like if you didn't have running water in your house. If you couldn't grab a glass of water from your kitchen sink or the dispenser many of us have in our refrigerator whenever you are thirsty. Clean water is something many of us take for granted, but it is an essential part of living. In July of 2010, the United Nations recognized the right to water and sanitation as a right to all humans. This right states that everyone should have access to 50 to 100 liters of water each day. According to the 1990 Millennium Development Goals report, only 76% of the population had access to improved water. By 2010, it had risen to 89%. This is an improvement, but it still means that 11% of the global population, that's 783 million people, do not have water connections to their house, access to boreholes, protected wells, protected springs, or protected rainwater. Over 40% of the people living in sub-Saharan Africa do not have access to improved drinking water. The United Nations has recognized this problem and has been working to find a solution for quite some time now. The United Nations held a water conference in 1977. 1981 to 1990 was known as the International Drinking Water Supply and Sanitation Decade. The United Nations also held another international conference on water and the environment in 1992. But there is still much more work to do. 2003 was declared the International Year of Fresh Water by the General Assembly in an attempt to raise awareness of the clean water crisis. 70% of the Earth's surface is covered with water. So some of you might be wondering how clean water is not accessible by everyone. Only 3% of the Earth's water is fresh water. Another main cause of the water crisis is people who do have access to improved water are overusing it. This goes back to earlier how I mentioned water is something we often take for granted. Water is often overused for many things. People overuse water when they take an extra long shower. Water can also be overused on animals or land, even for recreational activities. Water pollution is also a main cause. Water pollution is a big problem. As many of you already know, oil spills and chemical spills are considered water pollution. But carcasses and fecal matter are also forms of water pollution. This is why people in less developed places, which lack proper plumbing or sewage systems, typically have less clean water. People in rural areas are also more likely to not have access to proper water. Sometimes this is due to the simple fact that they are just too far away from a clean water source. Lack of clean water can have a significant effects on people. The first and most important is dehydration. The human body can only survive 3 days without water. Water is also needed in order to produce crops. If people are unable to grow food in a certain area, they may suffer from hunger. People can develop diseases from drinking or using unclean water for bathing, watering crops, and other uses. If people are sick, this makes it hard for them to attend school and receive a proper education. There are many ways we can work to solve the clean water crisis. You can recycle water. For example, there is technology that allows you to collect and recycle rainwater. You could also conserve water. You can save up to 8 gallons of water each day just by turning off the faucet instead of letting the water run while you brush your teeth in the morning and at night. And lastly, you can get educated on the water crisis and find out more ways you can help support the Clean Water Initiative.